should. I went and took a walk around my neighborhood, feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Every day can be a better day despite the challenge. All you gotta do is leave it better than you found it. It's gonna get difficult to stand, but hold your balance. I just say whatever, cause there is no way around it.
Everyone falls down sometime, but you just gotta know it will all be fine. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Feeling good, like I should. I went and took a walk around my neighborhood, feeling blessed, but never stressed. I got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Sometimes you wake up and nothing works, you feel surrounded. Gotta give your feet some gravity to keep you grounded. Keep good things inside your ears the way the words and sounded. And just say whatever, cause there is no way around it.
Everyone falls down sometime, but you just gotta know it'll all be fine. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Feeling good, like I should. Went and took a walk around my neighborhood, feeling blessed, but never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best. Feeling good, like I should. Went and took a walk around my neighborhood, feeling blessed, never stressed. Got that sunshine on my Sunday best.
Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us at Church Online this weekend at Steamboat Christian Center. It is so good to have you. My name is Julie, and I want to introduce you to my great friend, Kyle. Kyle, I like your shirt.
I like yours too.
You do?
Yeah,
Thank
check
you.
that out the back of mine.
Ooh,
Boom, yeah,
nice.
got it.
Cool
Love God,
shirt.
love people. Hey, we want to give a shout out to all the students and the parents and the teachers going back to school. My mom and sister are both teachers, and so they've let me know it's a little bit different going back this year. So we are praying for you. We're on your side. And all the hype kids are getting together this Wednesday at 6 at Uzoa, and it's going to be so much fun. It's our last one of this season, so make sure that your students are there.
Yes, I love that so much. And you know what? As you guys know, we don't just go to church, we are the church.
Yeah.
And this Sunday, August 30th, we have an incredible opportunity to go and be the church in our community. We are doing Neighbor Day. It's going to be fantastic, and it's going to be fantastic because there may not be a better opportunity all year long, sincerely, to go in our community and show them that we love God and sincerely, honestly, tangibly love people. So join us.
Yeah, that's so right. We're serious about loving people. And so if you haven't signed up, that's all right. You can show up at Wells Fargo at 1 o'clock. We got these shirts. We got all the supplies we're going to send you out with. Even if you want to come with a friend and just be like, hey, we're here to help out, we got some work for you to do. We'll get down and dirty this Sunday at 1.
Yes, and guys, I can't wait to see you there. And you know what? This message today, it's going to close out our series of summer tweets. And I have loved summer tweets so far. And today, though, is going to be super powerful. You can hear an incredible message from Pastor Troy. And if you've been wondering about where we are as a church and when are we going to open up, today, those questions are going to be answered. And I promise you will be incredibly inspired and challenged. So stay tuned and don't miss out on a second of what you're about to hear. So we look forward to week 4 of Summer Tweets. Here we go.
The weapon may be formed, but it won't prosper. When the darkness falls, it won't prevail. 'Cause the God I serve knows only how to triumph. Oh, my God will never fail. Oh, my God will never fail. And I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. Yeah. There's power in the mighty name of Jesus. Every war he wages, he will win. And I'm not backing down from any giant, 'cause I know how this story ends. 'Cause I know how this story ends. And I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. You take what the enemy meant for evil, and you turn it for good. You turn it for good. And I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. And I'm gonna see your victory. I'm gonna see your victory. For the battle belongs to you, Lord. You
Over the last month, I've asked some of the pastors here at Steamboat Christian Center to share with you some little bits of wisdom that they have gained over these last several months. And if you have missed any of these summer tweets, I highly encourage you to go back and listen and watch because they have been very good. In fact, every week I've gotten a few texts or maybe phone calls or maybe emails of people just saying, listen, these little messages have really encouraged them and challenged them in their walk with the Lord. And I'm kind of hoping that today will do the same for you, because today you are going to learn something about this church. You're going to learn why we do what we do the way we do it. Now, as you know, this summer has been an incredibly challenging time for churches all over our nation. Due to the pandemic, state and local governments have put a lot of restrictions on churches. And Steamboat Christian Center's leadership, our staff, and our elected board of deacons have chosen to follow these restrictions, even though the legality and maybe even the constitutionality of these restrictions are a little bit in question. Now, as you might imagine, our decision to suspend our weekend in-person services has been met with varying reactions from people, and I get that. And so today, what I want to do is I want to talk to you a little bit about why we have chosen what we are doing and why we've chosen this path. Not as a defense. I'm not saying this as a defense. I want to use it as a teaching moment. Yeah, in other words, I want to talk about our church's response to the pandemic as a way to illustrate a larger point, a point that is central, I believe, to the Christian faith. And a point that I believe should influence every church at all times, but especially during these crazy times we're living in right now. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but in our current climate, there are three dynamics that have kind of merged together to create a perfect storm of confusion, especially as it relates to something that Jesus taught and modeled in his life. Now, the first one of these is everything is political. Everything is political. I don't know if you've kind of noticed that recently, but everything. I mean, this pandemic, this virus has become political. It wasn't but a few weeks when this virus hit the shores of America before every side had politicized this pandemic, right? I mean, the quarantines have become political. Healthcare and medicines and treatments have become political. Masks, wearing masks has become political. Even reopening our schools here this fall has become politicized. And I don't know if you've noticed that there are just no longer any neutral topics anymore, right? I mean, everyone is protesting everything because everything is now political. Now, the second dynamic that has come along that's caused some of this confusion is this thing called cancel culture. Yeah, in other words, if you say one thing that I don't like, or if you say one thing that I disagree with, then I can completely discount everything you've ever said or everything you've ever done. And this is tough. I mean, especially for pastors like myself. I mean, first of all, because you know that on occasion I can say something stupid. I'm kind of that way, and so that's difficult. But more than that, some of what the Bible says to us is no longer, maybe never been politically correct, especially today. And more than that, a lot of what Jesus said and a lot of what Jesus did runs completely contrary to how this world thinks things should be done. And so every week we come together and we speak and we run the risk of losing people if we say something or we do something that people don't like. And we don't want to lose anyone. We don't want to do that. So this is really complicated. But that leads me to the third dynamic that makes doing church in 2020 a huge challenge. And this dynamic has been around for a long time. But it rears its head even higher during political seasons like we're in right now. And this is the one that I want to focus on because it affects our faith more than the other two. It's actually a version of Christianity. It is a version of Christianity that I have worked hard to help us avoid here at Steamboat Christian Center. And it's known by a lot of different names, but I'm just going to refer to it as culture war Christianity. Culture war Christianity. Now, I'm familiar with this because soon after I became a follower of Christ, I kind of got caught up into culture war Christianity. This is the brand, this is the version of Christianity that is most concerned with winning debates and winning arguments and winning court battles and winning elections. Now, don't get me wrong. Those are all important activities if you want to preserve the health and the well-being of a nation. But those are a big disaster if you are trying to build the church of Jesus Christ. Posting negative opinions about government leaders on your Facebook page. Starting and engaging and winning debates with people who are on the other end of your political spectrum, those things may be worthwhile pursuits for citizens of this great country. But those things fall woefully short in fulfilling the commandment that Jesus gave us to love God and to love people. Like I said a few weeks ago, I need to remember that I have a dual citizenship, right? I am an American. And as such, that comes with certain rights and privileges and responsibilities that I need to take seriously. And I do. And I hope you do too. We have an election coming in 2 months. And I pray that every one of you do your civic duty and be a part of that situation. But the other is that I'm also a citizen of heaven, right? And that comes with certain duties and responsibilities that sometimes supersede my calling as an American. For example, as an American, I love to win. We are winners. Americans are winners. We can't stand to lose, right? I mean, losing is for losers, right? That's what it is. And the problem with that outlook is that Jesus, when you look at his life and his ministry, he didn't really play to win. I mean, as we would define winning today. No, in fact, when you look at Jesus, it looks like he played to lose. Now let me explain this. In Philippians chapter 2, there's this little passage that Paul is talking to the Philippian church, and he is challenging them to emulate Jesus' approach to dealing with the world, to dealing with people. And I want you to look at what he says here in verse 3. He says this, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or pride." Nothing? Yeah, do nothing out of selfish ambition or pride. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but to the interests of others. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a huge challenge for me, right? I mean, putting others' needs and interests above my own, who does that? Well, Paul tells us in verse 5. He goes on, he says, "In your relationship with others, have the same mindset as Jesus Christ." Wow. Who, being in very nature God, Paul knew this. He had investigated. Jesus was God in a bod. He was the visible image of an invisible God. He had come to this earth, and he said, who being in the very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used for his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing. Man, that's kind of disturbing when you think about that, right? But that's what separates Jesus from most people. Again, Jesus didn't play to win. Jesus played to lose. Now, if I'm honest with you, that doesn't sit well with me. That's hard. It's just not the American way, right? We like to win. It is in our DNA. We are wired to win. Now, the reality is that Jesus wasn't against winning. That's not the case. It's that Jesus was just playing a completely different game with a completely different set of rules, and he was playing for a completely different win. Remember, Jesus came to establish a new kind of kingdom, a kingdom where the first would be last and the last would be first. Wow. Jesus didn't play to win. Jesus played to lose so that others could win. So that you and I could win. Paul continues. He says, rather, he made himself nothing. Jesus made himself nothing. He made himself a nobody. Now again, who does that? I mean, nobody wants to be considered a nobody, right? I mean, everybody wants to be somebody, but Jesus became a nobody. And he became a nobody how? By taking on the very nature of a servant. Now that's a big word that you find often in the New Testament. And it's a huge word. What does it mean to be a servant? Well, a servant is someone who wakes up every day thinking how they can take care of others, right? A servant is a person who wakes up every day thinking how they can leverage themselves and their resources for the benefit of others. I want you to think about this. Paul here is describing to us Jesus. And if we are the body of Christ, if we are his hands and his feet, this should describe us, right? The point I'm trying to make to you, and I want you to read this carefully, and that is that the church always looks more like Jesus when we are defending other people's rights rather than our own. We look a lot more like Jesus when we're defending other people's rights and interests more than our own. Secondly, the church always looks more like Jesus when we are giving away rather than demanding our way. And if that scares you, if that makes you uncomfortable, you feel like you're losing or you're losing something, now you can understand why Jesus' disciples couldn't accept the idea that he would be arrested, tried, and crucified. I mean, they could never wrap their mind around that. Over and over throughout the Gospels, Jesus would turn to them and tell them, hey guys, this isn't going to turn out the way you think. You think we're going to win. You think that I'm going to rise up and I'm going to be king of Israel and I'm going to boot Rome out of here. I'm going to defeat Rome. But I'm playing a different game here, guys. I'm playing a different game. I am going to lose so that the whole world can win. To them, that was just crazy talk. They were just like, what is he talking about? And they didn't get it until far after the cross. And that's where Paul ends this little passage. I want you to look at this. This is a powerful image. He says this again. Jesus made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. The cross. It's an interesting thing when you think about it, right? I mean, today the cross is the symbol of Christianity. It is the recognizable symbol of Christianity. We as American Christians often forget that there is a cross involved in this walk that we have, right? But you need to remember, for hundreds of years, the cross was an instrument of torture and death. I mean, that's what it was. It certainly wasn't considered a symbol of success and of winning. It was a symbol of shame and failure and loss. Today, though, the cross has become a symbol of Jesus' sacrifice for us. That Jesus gave his life so that we could live. That Jesus played to lose so that we could win. And that's what it means to be a Christ follower, right? That's how the church should represent ourselves to our community. We lose so that they can win. I want you to look at this last verse, and you need to buckle your seatbelt. Jesus said in Luke chapter 9, verse 23, he said, if anyone wants to be my disciple, they must deny themselves. They must lay down their wants and their needs and their interests. And they need to pick up my cross. They need to pick up their cross. They need to be willing to die to themselves on a daily basis and then follow my example. Man, that is sobering to us in the 21st century. Let me be clear to you real quick here. Suspending our in-person services is not what's best for us. I get it, right? I mean, to be honest with you, our entire staff, every one of us, we would much rather open our doors and have you come and let's have church together inside here. We would much rather do that, believe me. That would be a big win for us. But that would be a big loss for our community, both in terms of what could happen, but then also the message that we would be sending to them. I mean, think about it. Whether we intended to send it or not, we would be telling them that going to church for us is more important than the welfare of our community. In fact, that brings me to my tweet this week. My tweet this week is, "It's not about us." Hashtag, "It's not about us." Because we need to repeat this over and over to ourselves. It's not about us. Why? Because it's about them. That's what this is. It's about them. Come on, think about it, man. Our vision for this church has never been about getting large groups of people to come together on the weekend and meet in here. That's not been our vision. Our vision has been to inspire our community to investigate Jesus so that they might one day possibly follow him. That's our vision. And so the question is, how do we do that? How do we do that, especially in this strange season in which we can't meet together on the weekends? That's a good question, and I'm glad that you asked it. Here's the answer. and here's the thing. I just want you to know that my biggest concern for our church is, especially during this pandemic, is that we would get so focused on what we can't do that we would miss out on the things that we can do. Because there are some opportunities around us right now to speak and to preach and to share the gospel, the hope of Christ to this community around us. And so what can we do? Well, I thought a lot about it, and this is what I think God would ask us to do in this moment in this season. We can lead our community in prayer and in serving. We can lead our community in prayer and in serving. Instead of asserting our rights to serve ourselves, perhaps we could look to serving our community. Now, I want you to follow me here. When this pandemic hit months ago, we were all on our knees all the time. Let's just be honest, man. We were all praying and sucking carpet because it was super, super scary back then. In fact, I started a Facebook page that encouraged you to join me to pray every day at 7:14 a.m. and 7:14 p.m. that God would heal our land. And doing that, I remember it lasted about a month of kind of staying on that and doing that. And I've noticed that over this last month or two, I have lost a little bit of my commitment to praying this pandemic away. And recently God has convicted me that I've got to stand up and I've got to lead my church in prayer. And more than that, God has convicted me that our church has got to stand up and lead our community in prayer, right? Why? Well, let me read you a scripture here, and this will give you the answer. 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. God says, "If my people who are called by my name will just humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and I will heal their land." My friend, prayer is a cure for COVID. We don't need to wait for a vaccine. We need to pray this thing down. We need to seek God. We need to ask him to heal our land. And prayer is the cure for COVID. We have the cure. God has given us the ability to help pray this thing. And so here's what I think we should do. We should specifically pray that COVID would be eliminated or reduced in our community. In fact, if you're frustrated that there's no church right now, that you can't go to your church right now, this is the answer for you. Let me tell you, this is what you need to do. Last week, I read in the newspaper that if we see new COVID cases in Routt County fall below 7 new cases within 2 weeks, the county will apply and probably get the extension to go to phase 3, which will allow us to have gatherings of up to 500 people together under one roof. Right? This would get you back in church. But more importantly, if that happened, oh my gosh, it would open up our community. It would free up some of our businesses, especially as we head into ski season. They desperately need this to happen. And so why wouldn't you and I direct our prayers like a laser beam on that number, on number 7, of getting these cases down to 7? And so here's my call. Here's my challenge. For the month of September, I want to call our church to pray. To pray specifically for 5 things. That number 1, that COVID would be reduced in our community. That number 2, that God would protect our children and our teachers as they go back to school. Number 3, that God would give wisdom to our government leaders, that they would act righteously and that they would judge and move forward and guide us in the right way. That number 4, that God would bless and protect the churches that are in our community. And lastly, that number 5, God would bring an awareness to our community that Jesus is Lord, that there is hope in Jesus. Those are the 5 things I want to pray about. And so for the next 4 Tuesday nights, every Tuesday night at 5:30 p.m., we have scheduled a time of worship and a time of prayer right here in our Family Life Center. And I want to invite you to join me and our staff and our leadership of our church to come and pray some audacious prayers and see what God will do with that. Now, as you know, space is going to be limited, so I encourage you to sign up, to let us know that you're coming. Go to steamboat.church/ it's not about us. steamboat.church/ it's not about us, to let us know if you're coming. And if you can't make it, hey, we've got something for you. Maybe you're social distancing or you have to work on Tuesday nights. I want to invite you to go to that webpage and download a drive-by prayer guide that we've put together that you can take with you on your phone, and you can drive to 5 different spots in our community over about a period of an hour and pray for these 5 things with you, by yourself, or with your family. That's the thing. That's the heart. It's time for us to pray, people. And I want to challenge you to do that. Now, the second part of this "It's Not About Us" challenge is that we should lead the way in serving. You knew that. Like Jesus, we should put the needs and the interests of those around us above our own. And as you might know, this Sunday at 1 p.m., we are doing Neighbor Day. People from Steamboat Christian Center are going out all over the valley to serve their neighbors in tangible ways. And one doing is that we're trying to begin this process of minimizing the impact of COVID in our community. We want to get these cases down below 7 so that our community can go to the next phase and open up. And so we need to pray about that. But we also need to do something. We need to act. And so I want to challenge you. This weekend on Neighbor Day, we're going to be sending out teams to go out and sanitize bus stops and playground equipment all around town. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's not too late if you want to join us. I encourage you to meet us down at the Wells Fargo parking lot at 1 p.m. this Sunday if you want to be a part of that. But I want to ask you to go to another level. I want to challenge you to consider going to another level in this serving our community. You may not realize this, but our church, Steamboat Christian Center, probably has over 1,000 to maybe 1,400 people that are associated with it. That makes us, without a doubt, one of the largest organizations in Routt County. That's a lot of influence. Here's my question. What would it look like if everyone that's connected to Steamboat Christian Center decided that they were going to lead the way in COVID mitigation this month? What would that look like? What would it look like if we all decided to lead the way in helping COVID go away? Now, I asked that very question to the Routt County Director of Environmental Health this last week. And when I called him last week and he answered, and I told him who I was fairly sure that he thought that I was calling to bug him about lifting the restrictions on our church so that we could meet. But instead, I said to him, hey, I've realized that we have over 1,000 people who want to serve and love our neighbors well. And so what we want to do is we want to mobilize our church to minimize the impact of COVID in our community. What can we do to help you? That's what I said. You know what I got? Nothing. For a few seconds, the phone was silent. And finally he said, I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. He said, this is kind of new for me here. He said, I haven't had a call like this recently. I said, no? He goes, no. He said, most of what I'm hearing is frustrations and complaints and requests for help. But you are offering to help us? And I said, yeah. I said, what do you need done that's not getting done? What do you need that you don't have that maybe we can help you with? What resources can this church provide to you that you're lacking? How can we help eliminate COVID in our community so that we can get set free from this thing? Again, he was silent and he was clearly stunned. And he said, you know what? I've got to take this to Dr. Harrington and some of the other people I'm working with on this Tuesday, and I'm going to run it by them, and we're going to brainstorm, and I'm going to get back to you. Thank you. Thank you for calling. Well, I spoke to him today, and this is what he said. He said that we are getting close to getting COVID low enough to where we can go to this phase 3. They can almost taste it. We're getting close enough to do that. And he said that 1,000 people in our community leading the way, bringing solidarity to try to get our whole community to get to phase 3, which, by the way, is called Protect Your Neighbor, which is ironic, right? He said 1,000 people helping us get to that. That would be amazing. And so I said, what can we do? And he said, listen, I think the keys are, I challenge you to challenge your people to lead the way. I said, really? What do you mean? He goes, and lead the way in the 5 commitments to containment. Maybe you've seen this a little bit, but there are 5 things that they're asking us to do: to social distance, to be diligent about being wise about social distancing, to be diligent about washing our hands, to be diligent about wearing masks, to be diligent about staying home if we feel sick or if we have symptoms, and to be diligent about getting testing if some of these symptoms start to hit us. Number 2, he said, you know what, we're going into flu season, and that's going to make this so confusing because the symptoms are often very similar. He said, so I really want to encourage everybody, and if your church could lead the way, to get a flu vaccine, a flu shot. That would really help eliminate a lot of the problems here. And speaking of testing that's going on, he said that there's some good news, that they are very close to identifying a 5-minute COVID test based on saliva. He said that is going to be an incredible game changer for this. And so I just wanted to share that with you. I don't know when it's coming, but soon. The point I want to make here is that I want to ask you if you would consider joining me and our staff and our church leadership this month in not only praying that God would bring COVID down, but that we would lead the way in our community to reduce COVID. And I realize that what I'm asking some of you to do may cause you to violate your political stance on COVID. I realize that for some of you, putting a mask on would be a reversal of a decision that you made to protest some of the misinformation and some of the double standards that we have seen over these past few months. I get that. But I want you to remember, it's not about us. It's not about us, man. We're not in it to win anything for ourselves. We are followers of Jesus. Jesus, who, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. No, rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, dying, even death on a cross. Now, for those of you who have written me and have said, Pastor Troy, you got to take a stand. You got to take a stand. This is our stand. For those of you who have emailed me and said, hey, man, where's your faith? This is our faith. We are choosing to put the good of our community ahead of our own wants and desires because it's not about us. It's about Jesus. And for Jesus, it's about them.
Wow, I am so encouraged about that message today. I was inspired. I was brought to tears, honestly, because I remembered, hey, it's not about me and it's not about us. And as you guys heard, our action step for this week and for the whole month of September is we are doing worship and prayer nights every single Tuesday at 5:30 p.m.
Yeah, you can sign up for that at steamboat.church/itsnotaboutus. We can only have 50 people in the building, but don't worry, if we get more, we'll make more time slots for this. But really, if you're motivated to be the church, let's get serious about prayer.
Amen. And we can't wait to see you there. And guys, again, thanks for joining us this weekend. It was great to have you, and we will see you soon.
See you Tuesday.